Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're all doing well. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you a really cool technique of how to use the MPC's sampler to sample internal sounds or audio tracks, and that you can then use as a one-shot on a drum pad. All right, very cool. So let's get to it. All right. All right, so first thing, you want to make sure that you have a sequence that contains some audio tracks that you're interested in sampling. So here is a recent project that I'm working on. It has a drum track, bass track, and some audio tracks with a couple of audio clips within that track. And so I'm going to sample, I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to internally sample this particular audio clip. And but first, let's take a listen to a couple of bars of the song that I'm working on. It's called Sweet Love. Here we go. And here comes the vocals. All right, so that is the hook of the song, and we're going to sample that. So and then I'm going to take that sample and chop it up into different slices, and we're going to put those slices onto drum pads, and then we can trigger those pads. So for example, I have it done here already, but I'm going to show you how I do it. But this is what it's going to give you. So give me that. Give me that. So you can do one shots with the various chops, you know. Give me that sweet love, sweet love, music on. All right, so you get the idea. And it just opens up a lot of creative possibilities when you do that. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the loop on. This is the arranger loop that you can drag around and expand. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to set it up so that it is covering the vocal track. And so in that way, when I'm ready to sample this audio track and I hit play start, when you hit play start with the loop activated, it's going to start where the beginning of that loop is, not at the beginning of the sequence, but at the beginning of the loop. And so that's why I want to make sure when I'm sampling I have it set up properly. Actually, I'm even going to make this a little closer to the vocal clip, just like that. The second thing that I want to do is, since I'm focusing just on the audio track, I'm going to go and mute all the other tracks, so those are not sampled. I just want the audio, this audio clip, to be sampled. So we go to the mixer, so hit mix right here, and then go to the pen and volume page, and that gives you the option to mute or solo. Instead of muting all the other tracks, it's easier to solo the track of interest. So I'm sure many of you who know how to mix are aware of this, but for those of you who are not aware of the mute versus solo, that's what the solo is for. It's just easier to solo a track instead of muting all the other tracks. So there we go. So I soloed the audio track, so now we're just going to be able to focus on that and sample just that audio clip. And now I'll go back to the main page. All right, go back to the arranger. All right, the next thing we're going to do is go to the sampler, and there's a couple of ways you can do that. You can go to the menu by pressing the menu button here, and then you can find the sampler icon and hit that. Or you can go to, there's a dedicated sampler button right here, so you just hit shift and sampler, and it takes you to the same place. So that's what's great about the MPC, is there's always a couple of ways to do things, and it all depends on your workflow and what's easiest for you. So all right, so we're in the sampler, and the most important thing now is to properly select the input. So what's coming into the sampler? So usually you have an external sound coming in, and it's through inputs 1 and 2, which we have here. But right now we want to have sounds internally from inside the MPC be sampled, right? So there's a setting for that. So you can double click on this box here, and it shows you all the different inputs you can choose from to feed into your sampler. And so there's a selection here called resample. Resample left, resample right, or resample left and right. We're going to use this one, resample left and right. And all that means is that it's going to be using an internal sound that's coming through the left and right channels. And that's what's going to be fed into the sampler. Okay. So select that. So you see it here, resample left and right. We keep it in stereo mode because we have 2 channels. And my threshold is quite low, so as soon as it hears a sound, it's going to start triggering. If I'm on automatic, if I want to sample automatically, you can sample with, you can trigger the start of the sampling automatically if you set your threshold, and as soon as it hears a sound that is above that threshold, it's going to start recording. Sometimes I've noticed it kind of cuts off the beginning of the sound you're recording when you do it like that. But in any case, we'll just try it out. So my threshold is set around minus 21. Let's go down to maybe a little lower, to minus 25. Okay. Then what I have is the maximum length of the sample. I have it at 2 minutes. It's not going to be that long, but you want to give it some room in case your audio clip is long. And you could change this. You can make it longer or shorter. And we are going to arm the sampler. So now it's ready to record, right? And it's just waiting for an internal sound to get triggered. I think we're all ready because we have the loop activated, and as soon as I hit play start, it's going to start playing at the beginning of the loop, and as soon as the sampler hears a sound, it's going to be activated. So let's try that out. Here we go with the play start. Give me that sweet love. Okay, so you see how it automatically activated. Better than sunshine, baby. Levels look okay. Lose my mind. My feelings grow stronger. Can't wait any longer. We'll take it nice and slow. Music on, the lights down low. And then I stop it manually, and then we can give this new sample a name. So let's call it, give me that sweet love. Whoops, I forgot to stop. Okay, so let's give that sample a name. So we'll call it vocal take 2, because I already have a vocal take 1 when I was getting ready for this tutorial. So we'll say do it. So I don't need it to go to a track right now, so I have it set on none here, and I'm going to say keep that sample, and it goes back to the sampler for the next sample if I had one, right? So I'm going to go back to the main page, and so right now the next thing I want to do is go to that sample, go to that audio sample that we just sampled, and to do that I hit the sample edit button, and then I'm going to look for our track, And here it is, vocal take 2. So that was in the memory menu, vocal take 2. I select that, and here is the sample. And if I hit pad 16, it's going to play it back. Give me that sweet love, the kind that I dream of. So it did a great job. We'll stop that. And here, when you're in the trim menu or the trim page, you can trim the beginning or the end of your sample if you want to make it shorter, and then you can even assign that sample to a specific pad. If you have a drum track already open and ready to receive your samples, you can assign this sample to a pad in that track. So if I were to hit assign, you could see it says assign slice to pad A1, and it tells you the track that you want to go to. But I'm not going to do that right now, so let's close that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and chop up the sample, and then we're going to have these individual slices that we're going to automatically assign to a new drum track. So to do that, we're going to go from the trim page. We're going to hit the trim button here. When you see a little square underneath a menu item like this, that means that there's another layer. So if you were to hit that, a new page shows up. Okay, so right now we're in the chop page, and this is where we can chop up our sample into different slices. And so I am going to do a manual chop because because it's a vocal track, I don't necessarily want it chopped up to the beats per minute or to thresholds or regions. I'm going to do it where I manually see fit. And so when you have it set in manual, it's ready to receive a pad hit, and it triggers the sample. And every time you hit a new pad, it assigns what just played to that pad. Okay, so let's try that out. So I'm going to start with the first pad, and I'm going to sample give me that sweet love. And I think I'm going to chop that up into 2 parts. Give me that, and then the sweet love. So I'm going to go give me that and hit 2 pads. So let's try it. Give me that sweet love, the kind that I dream of. I'm doing the rest. Better than sunshine, baby. You make me lose my mind. My feelings grow stronger. Can't wait any longer. We'll take it nice and slow. Music on, the lights down low. All right. So let's see how that sounds. It wasn't perfect, but you get the idea. And by the way, apologies for the vocal take. You could hear that there's a lot of, pops in there. I was recording off of a headset microphone like this, without an anti-pop thing in front of the microphone. So, it's a draft, but I will probably redo the vocals anyways. You can't tell though when it's playing along with the instruments. The pops are very indiscernible. So anyways, let's check out the chops here. Give me that. Give me that. So you could tell there's it's not perfect. So what you can do is you can select the slice that you want to work on by selecting the slice box and then dialing the slice of interest. So I'm on slice 1. I'm going to expand this, move it over, and then I am going to adjust. Give me that. Give me that. So we're going to, I'm going to slice 1. We're going to bring this back a little bit. Give me that. Give me that. Give me that. Give me that. I'm going to stretch this out. Maybe a little bit more. Give me that. Give me that. Okay, I'm happy with that. And then sweet love. Okay. Sweet love. Unfortunately, you hear the echo of the first sample overlapping on the second slice. Sweet love. I don't know if there's a way to get rid of that, but that's okay for now. So you see that when I moved the location of the trim of the end trim, it automatically moved the beginning location of the second slice. And that's because I have the link slices connected. So whenever you move the beginning of or the end of one slice to trim it, it automatically adjusts the following or the preceding slice automatically. That's very handy. But in some cases, you might not want that to happen. You might want the first slice to be extended and the second slice to be shorter. So you can just unselect link slices. Okay. So let's take a quick listen to the other slices. Sweet love. All right, so we heard that one. That's pretty good. The kind that I dream of. That's good. Oh. Better than sunshine, baby. Big gap on that one. So on slice 4, so what we're going to do is I am going to move this like that. Okay, and let's take off the link slices here, and that way I will select number 3, and you can see what I was talking about before. Now I can bring the end of that one, and it doesn't affect the preceding slice, the start point of the next slice. Let's keep going. So that was good. Better than sunshine, baby. That's good. I'm going to extend the baby a little bit. Better than sunshine, baby. All right, that's good. You make me lose my mind. You make me lose my mind. All right, so I think you get the idea. I'm going to go ahead and adjust the rest of the samples. And then I'm going to show you how we're going to then automatically assign these samples to a drum kit. Alright, so now is the cool part. We are ready to assign all these slices to individual pads of a drum kit. And we're going to create a new drum kit dedicated just to these slices, and I'll show you how. And this is something that you know, I didn't learn right away, and I read the manual, and I probably skipped over it. By the way, I love reading manuals for any kind of instrument or technical stuff. I just go through everything from A to Z, and although it's kind of really you know, dry, boring read, there's so many gold nuggets in there, and that's one of the ways to learn an instrument like this. So I highly encourage that. But anyways, what was I saying? This is something I wish I knew early on. It's so cool. So once you have these chops, you can hit, or these slices, you can hit the shift button, and then you see the menu down here changes, and then there's this button called convert. You hit that, convert, and then you get this prompt here, and it gives you convert to choice. The first choice being assign slice to pad. But let's go through the different choices. I can scroll through them, or we can take a look at them all in one shot by double clicking. So it defaults to assign slice to pad, but there's different things you can do or convert to. And the one we're interested in is this new drum track using slices. Okay, that's pretty cool. So what it does is it's going to assign those slices to a new drum track, to the pads. You can also just take those slices and create samples, so they will each be saved as their own sample into the sample pool, and you can, you know, go use them later. You can create an audio track from the samples, which we don't want to do because we sampled from an audio track. You can assign an individual slice to an individual pad, etc., etc. So we're going to select this new drum track using slices. There it is. And then select type. So if I select this, there's two types of parameters we can select: non-destructive slice and pad parameters. So this kind of confused me a little bit. Let's see if I get it straight this time. When you have it on non-destructive slice, what happens is that the MPC, even though that slice is assigned to a pad, that slice is kind of like a bookmark on that pad. The MPC will go back to the original sample and take the sound from the chop and play it into the pad. So it's like it's going back to retrieve it and plays it in real time. So, and what happens in that case is that if you were to change anything like the trim, if you were to trim that slice, that change you did will be reflected on the pad. So you can change the sample at its source and it will be reflected on the pad. That's why it's non-destructive slice. However, if you choose pad parameters, that slice becomes its own sample belonging to that pad. So if you were to change the source, let's say trim that chop in the original sample, it wouldn't affect the pad, the slice on the pad. Okay, so sorry, I can't. I'll try to explain it clearer another time, but hopefully you get the gist. But in this case, we're going to stick with pad parameters, and we're going to hit do it. And then if I go to, so what happened here? It came back to the original sample, but now if I go back to the main page, here it is, vocal take 2. It created a new drum track. Okay, so let's see if the sounds are there. And I could see them, but I don't hear them. So why don't I hear them? Well, if you remember early on when we did the internal sampling, we muted all the tracks except for the audio track. So we got to go back to the mix and unmute everything. And remember, we hit the solo button. So just undo the solo button and everything else gets unmuted. And now we can go back to our main page. Our new drum track that we created called Vocal Take 2 is on track 9. And there it is. Give me that sweet love, sweet, sweet love, the kind that I dream of, better than sunshine, baby. You make me lose my mind. My feelings grow stronger. Can't wait any longer. We'll take it nice and slow. Music on, music on, music on. Lights down low. So there you go. And now when I play the song, let's go back to the arranger. I'm going to unactivate the loop and hit play start so it goes back to the beginning. Nice. So you get the idea. So you can play around with it as much as you want, and it's pretty cool because you hear the hook, and then later on you can have like a bridge part where instead of playing the whole hook, you can just play little parts of that hook and just trigger them with one shots like I've done. So once again, we learned how to internally sample from an audio track using the resample inputs on the Akai's MPC sampler, and then we chopped up the sample into slices and assigned those slices to the drum pads automatically. So I hope that was helpful. It's certainly been very helpful for me in my creative process and in my arrangement. And yeah, I hope you found this interesting and helpful, and stay tuned for more tutorials. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and see you next time. All right, peace.